Welcome back to PommyInOz. I am the Pom, and we are 3 rounds in, and we're already separating the contenders from the pretenders, the buyers from the tyre kickers, the teams that need a good hard look in the mirror. Welcome to the review show of AFL Round 3, where we buy, hold and sell stocks. The only stock market where Harley Reid's tank is somehow trading below SeaWorld levels, and Carlton's game plan looks like it was faxed in from the 80s. We've got all the risers, the sliders, dead set stinkers, and we're calling it how we see it. No sugarcoating, just a bit of a laugh. So whether your team's flying high, floating into mediocrity, or flace panting the turf, let's dive in and see who's worth the hype and who is getting flogged on the trade table. Start with the teams we're buying. Adelaide Crows, I'll tell you what, if you haven't bought into them yet, you're about to pay overs. These boys are flying under the radar like a stealth jet on a mission. Big convincing wins. They're playing with a bit of arrogance and a bit of cocky kind surety. More, we know we're good and we're going to show you it. The forward line is snarling. It's a 3-headed fire-breathing monster. Fogarty, Thilthorpe and Big Tex. They're terrifying at the minute. You can't double one without getting torched by the others. Even though Tex is 34, in his golden era, he is piling on the goals, whether it is from our contests, out of up the ground, pointing blokes around like he's the on-field coach, and Fogarty and Thilthorpe are really knuckling down. Thilthorpe being the future, while Tex is that old warhorse. It's like the forward line has been conducted and edited on the old IDOS game, Footy Manager. Rankine, he was solid, Laird doing Laird things, and Danny Curtin, he's moving like a future All-Australian. Rundown tackles, good goal sense, and more versatility than a Swiss Army knife. The midfield is humming, the back line is tight, and they're bullying teams, not just once, but many times. The fans are already blocking out September on them calendars, and let's be honest, I don't blame them. Buy Adelaide stock now. They are on the rise. You don't want to be chasing it when it's too late. Next on the buy list, and one of my favourites to talk about, current premiers, Brisbane Lions. After a week where it was declared that Gabba is structurally unsafe, footy potentially being played in a condemned building, the Lions found a way to shake off them ghosts and get it done versus the Cats. It was a proper slugfest. Humidity, a bloody Dangerfield looking like he'd stepped out of a 1980s collage. But the story here for Lions is resilience. Down by just under 5 goals at the half, Brisbane looked down and out, buried. But Will Ashcroft slotted one right after the siren, and a bit of footy magic happened, and the Lions remembered who they were. Hugh McCluggage quietly building a case for the most underrated player in the competition, turned the tide, lifted the midfield, and absolutely monstered the second half. Zorko, he continues to reverse the clock. Harris Andrews absolutely turning key forwards into mush, and young Bruce Revel came off the bench and lit the place up like it was magic round. Let's be clear, this was a statement. Premiership contenders, premiership holders, backs against the wall, win at all costs. And the Lions did this without their first choice ruck on a very boggy deck in a very humid circumstance against a fellow flag fancy. If you're waiting to buy into Brisbane, you may be too late. They've bounced back again in a game and they look unbeatable with this mindset. Buy big, the Lions are hunting to go back to back. Next up might surprise some teams, the Bombers. They've well and truly saved themselves from all the articles of a 0 and 3 start. 2 rounds where they've kind of showed something, but it's been half pressed at Tullamarine, that panic button. They found the bottle against Port Adelaide and deserved this buy tag. Now, the first half wasn't one for the impartial observer. I've seen more drama opening a pack of digestive biscuits. 7 goals by half-time, and the highlight really was someone yelling ball and falling over the seats in row G. But once we got to the last quarter, we saw some real good football. Corridor control, tackling pressure, and the lads were literally at Tullamarine going, we ain't going 0 and 3. Zachy Merritt, this bloke is made of caffeine and steel. 34 touches, 8 score involvements, And then second efforts that make a bunning sausage sizzle on a Sunday look easy. Draper added grunt. Caddy showed flashes. Durham looked solid and he did a job on Rosie in the second. And Zach Reed, who got absolutely monstered last week, turned Giordardis into a ghost in the second half. Dersma, although he didn't have a great game, in his last quarter he had 12 touches and really showcased revenge football. Defence is still that work in progress with Essendon. Ben McKay out there chasing shadows half the time, but Scott's blueprint is clear. On the corridor, on the game, work hard. And in the system-driven league, the Bombers are showing that they've got a bit of vibe and nostalgia in there. This isn't a polished buy. This is more of a savvy investor with a little bit of upside. Essendon, a cheeky portfolio ad. Get in on it. Now, I never thought I'd say this with a straight face, but buy Gold Coast stock. They just belted a Melbourne side travelling interstate, and this was a full-on statement game. Let's be honest, these lads haven't enjoyed travelling to Melbourne in recent years. In fact, they've usually played like they're allergic to Victoria. But on Saturday, they rolled in, sprayed sunscreen on the G, made it look like it was Broadbeach, and absolutely smoked the Demons. Matt Rowell, built like a fridge, tackles like 1-2, 36 touches, and enough crunches to make Viney, Petrarca and Oliver at times look like juniors. He was everywhere. Captain Anderson, smooth as buttered crumpets, and Ben King kicking goals out of his backside, with Jed Walter making a case as one of the best foils, drawing defenders and causing chaos. This wasn't just pressure footy. They denied Melbourne the corridor, forced turnovers, but they were classy and connected in every sense of the word. We've waited for years for Gold Coast to finally have the buy-in. It looks like they've got it. Don't get sucked in, Pommy. I know what you're thinking. They'll lose to the Crows this week. You might be right, but this version of the Suns is something that I enjoy watching, and I'm really looking forward to it. They even got around it when May tried to be the pantomime villain. There's a real cohesion and connection at Dimmer's Suns. I'm in. Buy Gold Coast. They're affordable, and they might just be in for a breakthrough year. Right, the easiest one here, Hawthorn. Put your dog's house on it. Put your nan's house on it. You know what? Get your nan's teacup collection. Stick that china on it as well, because the Hawks, they are in business. Now, this win wasn't just about footy. This was a chess match in an absolute wind tunnel. Launceston turned it on again. It sent a bloke in row D airborne with his 4-20. But the Hawks, they played like the weather app surgically implanted into their brains. Sam Mitchell coached the granny pants off this one. Looked at the win, looked at the Giants and said, right, we've got to play this smart. And it worked. The third quarter was tactical mayhem. Flooded the forward 50, forced GWS into panic footy. We'll take 3 out of 4 outcomes and let the wind do the rest. And it was genius. The wizard footy IQ is through the roof. 1 minute he's a high half forward. Next he's crumbing inside deep in 50. Impey, Ginny, Gunston, Hardwick all played their part in what was beautiful chaos. And don't get me started on the versatility. Weddle looks phenomenal. Battle, Sicily, Amon, D'Ambrosia, all rotating like a very carefully choreographed dance routine. It works. This structure is based on smarts, not stars, and it's so sustainable. This wasn't just a win, it's a proof of concept. GWS ain't mugs, but Hawthorn made them look like it at times. And honestly, against the wind in the third, they showed they are made of the right stuff. Buy Hawthorn soon. Honestly, buy the stock. Buy it before everyone realises they are probably, on paper, the best team in the comp. You might not get rich quick, but long term, the more you hold, the richer you'll get. All right, let's talk about the Saints. I'm putting them in the buy category because after that second half, I am on it faster than an old age pensioner on a meat tray on Saturday night at the RSL. Look, I know you can say, Pom, it's just Richmond. They had more kids out there, yes, than a Wiggles concert. But footy's not about who you beat. It's about how you do it. And the Saints turned it into a demolition derby in the second half. Plus 74 after halftime. It's a bold, underlined, delivered, hard Ross the Boss statement. Mitch Owens fist pumping, kicked his fifth, but handballed it to Collard instead. That's culture. That is me before you. That's you before me. That's what the Premiership teams are heavily built on. Sinclair, 41 touches. Marshall took the points in a great ruck duel with Nank. And Wood, Hall and Jimmy Webster stepping up like the time is now. This Saints team isn't flashy, but it's unselfish and cohesive. Absolutely ruthless when it smells blood. And Ross Lyon has got them humming with a solid midfield mix. It runs deep. The spread of love is fantastic. Get on it now. Buy Saints stock while it's reasonably cheap, because if they can pile on 8 gold quarters like this could be blue chip stock. And then we go to the doggies. Let me tell you, I'm buying this with both hands. This wasn't just a win by Carlton against Carlton. It was a statement. Goalless in the first quarter, missing key stars. Again, they found a way to outgrit and outrun and out-heart another team with 4 points in the bag. 8 goals to 4 after half-time. They were squad solid. They were fading Blues faster than a sunburned pom in Darwin. Sam Davidson, VFL gem. He had 31 touches, staggering 640 metres gained. Kennedy had a revenge game. Libba looked vintage. Darcy versus Wheating was a pure heavyweight title clash. And here's the scary bit. They've got Bontempelli and Trelaw to come back in. This team is like winning at the pokies and then also realising you've got a wad full of cash in your back pocket. Terrifying upside. The Dogs have developed depth, belief and hunger with role players stepping up. They've got stars to come back. Buy Dog stock now, because when Bont and Trelaw return, you're looking at a top 4 side. Now let's go on to the hold sides. And we're going to start off with the orange team, GWS. Yeah, they lost to Hawthorn. Yes, they were kicking with the wind in the third and made a dog's breakfast of it. But let's not forget, we've seen from the Giants in the last 12 months, they have a top-tier system, a smart coach, and stars across the line. It wasn't about talent, this loss. It was more adaptability. 15-minute scoreless stretch with the wind pretty much got away from them. Jesse Hogan, though, still looked like that old-school wrecking ball up forward. Canidio, Ash, and Callahan had their moments. Every contender stubs their toe somewhere. You don't bin blue chip stock just because of one slip-up. It's the reality check that I think they needed, but it was in exceptional circumstances. Hold on the Giants firmly in that top 8 mix. They got caught in a cyclone and just couldn't find their umbrella. All right, Geelong, settle down, everyone. You say that I rate Geelong too much, and I ain't dumping stock. They got run over like a tropical cyclone at the Gabatoir. But hold, and here's why. They were bloody good in the first quarter, and the second quarter for that matter. Dangerfield looked like back to his Adelaide best. Bailey Smith, Max Holmes and Mears were slicing it up. Even Muslin looked like he belonged, finally. They had a 26-point half-time lead. But then it got exposed, and it wasn't exposed in the flaws. It just showed how close they are. They got outworked and outmanaged by a team in slippery, muggy, energy-sapping conditions. They just lost their legs. When you're trying to ruck with DeConey and Blitzarbs against a genuine Darcy Fort, who is a tap ruckman, I think it's going to be found out. Chris Scott's hand was forced with injuries. No Tom Stewart. No Cameron. Cameron looking a yard off it. Shannon Neal going down early, so the forward line had nothing to go. They did nearly pinch it. 2-1 with upside for me is a good little thing. If you're going to clean up the forward entries, if they find a proper ruck solution, because SDK for me ain't a full-time ruck, this side is a top 8 lock. So don't panic, no fire sell. Reinvest. Hold your nerves, hold your stock, like always. They'll do well when the real stuff begins. Now listen to me about North Melbourne. You've got one hand on the sell button, I know. Sit down, take a breath, have some Yorkshire tea, think about it. Because this one is a big hold. Not the delusional kind either. Yeah, they lost by 6 goals. Yes, it got absolutely lit up at times by Thilthorpe, Tex and Fogg. But you know what? I really enjoy how North go about it. They played their way. And it wasn't a flogging. It was a proper contest against a side that is playing outrageously good football. Finn O'Sullivan, he looked like he'd grown in the lab. 19 touches, 0 fear. He's going to be special, and he learned from this game. Caleb Daniel was refreshing, showing a genuine zip line off the back. Larkey and Curtis continued to combine. And Darky, Davis, Uniacke and Simpson, they had their moments. There was something brewing there. North stayed in the fight. They had a swing. And while the execution is dodgy still, them kicking jails, please do something about it. The structure held up, and you know the system looks pretty good, and they cause a little bit of an issue. Now, it's hard to reward effort in this game because obviously there is a class apart. But you're not going to flip this overnight and turn it into a trendy Brunswick cafe. They are playing the right way, and this will pay them back. So hold your stock. The polish will come. The turnover horror show will cease as they get more excited. And the squint just right. North Melbourne look like a proper football side. I'm sticking with them. Plenty of water to go on the bridge. Sydney next week, that's going to be tough as well, but a chance for them. So don't sell yet. And we're going to finish with Fremantle for hold. Now, you may say, Pom, they won. A derby win. Tastes sweet. We're painting it purple. Premiership medals. Murals happening. Let's all admit, though, West Coast are absolutely shocking right now. Like, bad enough to make Carlton's rebuild over 2 decades look sustained. As much as Dockers look slick, this is also about how poor the Eagles were. Yes, the inside's 50 count was a domination. Luke Jackson looks every bit of an All-Australian and should have walked off with the medal. Josh Tracy basically bullying defenders, and Sarong winning clearances in a phone booth at times. But let's pump the brakes. The midfield looks settled. Jackson looks all Australian. There's a kind of cohesion going with that, and the defence looks okay. But this is really vanilla. For me, next week against the Dogs is the litmus test. Because if they can do that against a side that is hungry, maybe we can start buying stock on them. Right now, it's job done. You've got the win. But let's not start engraving Fremantle in a top 8 yet. They are one of them teams where we have seen this movie before. They can get the win. They do. They don't often back it up. Now let's go to the sellers. Well, Port Adelaide. AFL's answer to Kim Jong-un's haircut. It looks decent until you realise every other mug is forced to look 10 times worse. Let's be real. Port Adelaide, on form, they're bad. And I know what Port fans will say, but we beat Richmond. We did that. That's the problem. I think when they travel, they look poor. I think they can beat it. They've got all the ingredients. Strong midfield. Really interesting forward line. Outside rung. And a let's not talk about the captain. But you know what this reminds me of? That Connor Rosie reminds me of that one kid at school who was great at sport, but always got overhyped. Looks $1 million when it's dry and he's got space. But when he turned gritty again, he turns ghost. 22 touches, 1 clearance, and he was invisible. Jason Horne-Francis, he needs to get 4 quarters going. The last 5 minutes, he looked like he was brilliant, and he was going to be the hero, but spoiler alert, he wasn't the hero. Mitch Giordadis, he was impressive in the first quarter, but as Essendon built into the game, it felt like it was lights out. For me, no butters, no excuses. Fair play to Ollie Wines. He looked like he had some moments there. There's no Zach Butters there, but at the moment, it feels like you need the Scooby-Doo and his gang and the Mystery Machine to realise what is going wrong with this team, because on paper, this team should be a lot better. Aaliyah was okay. Jace Burgoyne is a real standout. But when Zach Merritt is out physicalitying you in the midfield, you're in trouble, mate, for me. Big, smelly, embarrassing trouble. So, for the power, it feels like reheated 2023 freezer leftovers. They need to get it right, and it feels like something is holding them back. Do you know what I mean? Holding them back. Now, we're going to go on an analogy train with this next sale, right? Put your kettle down, drink that rest of that tea, and sit on your nana's floral pattern couch. Remember that one? Do you remember it? You know, it's beige, it's got them big pastel roses, smells like lavender and regret. And every time you visit it as a kid, she said, they don't make them anymore. This is state of the art. And when you were 9, you used to look at that, didn't you? And you were like, your mates absolutely caned you for it. And then you moved house. And then you actually brought it in. That, my plan, is Carlton's game plan in 2025. It's slow, it's patterned, it's dated, it's got dollies on top. And we all know deep down in 40 years' time, it'll be the football that is vogue again. The problem, 40 years from the 80s is now. We've looped in the timeline, people. We're playing historical football in the present day. This side moves the ball around like it's afraid to make a mess. Every chain is carefully wrapped in cling film before they go forward. And by the time they do go inside 50, there is a picket fence and a veggie garden built by the opposition defence as they can structure up. Now, look, it's not all doom and gloom. These lads have something to play for. They are performing individually at times. but it does feel like it's a vibe of a boy band from the 90s going on a farewell tour. Every verse looks promising, but by the chorus, you've forgotten the choreography. 0-3, they've coughed up second half leads as well, like hairballs. This is a worry. The Blues were sinking back, sipping mocktails and looking smug as hell. Again at halftime, but slowly, like a cursed DVD, it felt like a repeat of what we've seen Carlton's horror second halves. The personality trait at the minute, 8 goals 4, is becoming not just a stat, it's becoming a way of life. And the individuals aren't the issue. TDK, Wheater and Cripps again, very good. Kerno, Young, Kemp, kicking goals. But it's the ease in which teams beat us. And you know what this team reminds me of? It's like, you know, when you find that old guy peddling DVDs, right? And you get it. And you just realise that they're all counterfeit cameras on that. It looks good. You're like, oh my God, I've got the new Lord of the Rings. But then it's poor quality. To be fair, though, Carlton do have a lot of talent there. They just need to get it right. At the minute, the midfield forward cohesion is shocking. And for the Blues at the minute, sell. Until they figure it out, you've got to get rid of it. Are they a nostalgia act or are they a football team? Because if you have got Carlton stack at the minute, you'd be better buying a VHS player and bootlegging a copy of the 1995 Grand Final. Because right now, this team is eating cold leftovers and pretending it's a gourmet meal. You can dress it all you want. It's disappointment. Melbourne! Friday Arvo at the G. Crisp breeze, $18 pints, and a chance to watch your club implode in 4K HD. What more can a Demons fan want? In theory, this was a reset game, a get-right game, a come on lads, let's remind everyone what we were. But let's say it was less polite than a conversation on the train at Frankston Station. Gold Coast ended up routing them by nearly 60 points. It was like an NBL scoreline with no defensive pressure. And remember that Nana's floral counts. You've got to get into it. Injuries, selection chaos, Mercury in retrograde. But at some point, Melbourne need to admit that it is that Nana's floral couch. It's comfy, it's stuck in the past, consistently trying to convince people it's back in fashion. The one you nearly inherited as a teenager. Trust me, love, I'll be back in vogue one day. Real statement piece. Meanwhile, all you're doing is throwing a blanket over and hope your mates don't realise it is that couch. They are the same as Carlton, a game plan that is outdated. Now, in fairness, Goodwin is saying we're going to start it again. But Matt Rowell ran over them like a bouncer at a dodgy nightclub. Ben kicked 4, could have had 6. And Melbourne forward entries are like the TikTok algorithm. And Max Gorn, he looks lost at the minute. This is a really interesting one, but for me, it's one of them ones. It's not good. Like Simon Goodwin reminds me more of the leader of St Kilda's wellness and meditation division than he does an AFL coach. The one small win is Harvey Langford looks the goods, looks solid, but no synergy, no fluency, no idea how to transition from the back line. GPS and a Sherpa guided them through halfback wouldn't work at the minute. Sell. The chemistry is off. It's jam like Woolies checkout on a long weekend. The Blues are as dysfunctional as my family Christmas. Lots of talent, no one wants to put the word together. Sell quickly until they get this right. Another one is Richmond. Now, you might have watched this game in the first half and gone, this isn't so bad. We've maybe seen it here. Uze's got these boys playing. Then the second half happened. 132 loss to them. And honestly, it felt like they were running through porridge in steel-cap boots. It was a real bad effort. Jack Ross, he tried. Nankervis tried. Seth Campbell tried. But again, it's them senior players just not getting around. They look one bouncer short of a security team. Tim Taranto was kept on a leash, honestly, and he's playing like a toddler lost at Christmas market. Sonsi looks like he's on one of them where are they now montages. It is poor, and Riley Mansell, again, losing his strength, got into a bit of strife. It's not good. Tom Lynch, absolute villain energy as well. Missed 3 weeks of sleep, it feels like, and his Uber got cancelled. Yes, he got angry. Yes, he barked at the crowd. But honestly, Footy needs villains. But when you're 70 points down, you've got 2 options. Try and play out the game, make something happen, or be the most annoying pest and just wind people up. Tom causing chaos, yep. But could he do more? The game plan is muddled. its defence is leaking, and the midfield is running out of vibes. They got a really good win last week, but this was a clinic, this was a warning, this was a reminder that 2025 for Richmond is about learning, and at times it looks like surviving. Sell, sell, sell on Richmond. I'm sorry. And that goes the same for the Eagles. Like, we know they're in a rebuild, but they weren't just second best. They were third behind their own mistakes. It feels like they're loud and awkward, but going nowhere real fast. This was a real easy win for them, and it wasn't basic execution. It was like watching your little cousin play Street Fighter 2 and just bash buttons and hope something works. The Eagles' game plan at the minute can be boiled down to kick to grass, missed handballs, fumbling under zero pressure. And it's not just the fundamentals. It's almost like this is a habit. It's like they've got to deliver 3 clangers per quarter. And it's not just the kids. Liam Baker was guilty. Hunt was guilty. Tim Kelly, they kick like they are in concrete. They handball like they've got olive oil on their hands. It's sabotage 101. And Fremantle just said, cheers, we'll take this 10-goal win. Tar. This isn't a rebuild. It's like you're trying to resheet it. The defence is battered. The midfield is lopsided. And the forward line is playing in a different postcode to the rest of them. McGovern injured. Allen starved. Ginby feels like he's tackling air. And Harley Reid at times looks like he's walking around like he's at Moomba. It's a system failure. Archer Reid did some things and that was nice, but this side feels like it's light years away. Not a lucky run away. Sell, sell, sell. Throw it in the sea. Sell. Harley needs a rocket. The mids need to hit a target. The defence needs another general. And the fans, well, they probably need therapy by the end of this. If you're holding on to sentiment, don't worry. There's plenty of cheap stock left next year. Sell that. There you have it. There's the round 3 wrapped up tighter than Hawthorn's game plan when it's windy. Some clubs you're buying like crypto in 2019 and others you're holding on like Carlton fans were in 2018. A few are selling fast, which is about as fast as Harley Reid jogging defensively. Not very much. Before you go, I've got a question for you. If your club was a takeaway order, what would it be? Mine is a 3 a.m. last orders kebab, Carlton. Soggy, and you'll regret it halfway through. Smash that like button, fling me a comment, sub if you're new. It really helps the channel out. We're well on our way to 8k. We do this every week, and it's always a bit of fun. I've been PommyInOz. You've been bloody marvellous. Catch you next time. See you soon. Pom out.